Toastmaster Godspower with TGIS from last few months. And whenever there was a need of a role to handle, he was there. Being so early to complete the third speech, it is very rare because he never backed up. If even some other participant has backed up on that day for some reason, we can call him. Are you ready for the speech? And he is ready. And when I asked him, what if you want to express yourself, how would you express? So he told me that he's an optimistic guy who learned to play, and he's an HSE practitioner. I really don't know what is that. Then also, I will let you to describe and go with your speech. The Godspower speech title is The Power and the Influence of Storytelling. Power and the Influence of the Storytelling, Godspower.
Thank you. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. The power and influence of storytelling. In the year 2009, a journalist named John Walker wants to experiment the power and influence of storytelling. And what did he do? He went on eBay, got around 20 different items. These items he bought a couple of dollars. I think each of them was around $2 each. Now, what did he called 20 different authors, gave them each of these items, and tell them to give a compelling story. Tell them to give a detailed explanation about each of these items. So the journey began. Each of these authors, they wrote beautifully poetry about each of these items. And he gathered everything up. And he said he was thinking how to go about this. How quick is he going to sell these things? And what profit is he likely going to pull out from it? He went back to eBay, uploaded these items, and put the storyline for each of these items. To his greatest surprise, within 3 weeks, he sold everything. And he sold everything for around $600. And this is a maximum huge profit for him. And what he was trying to pull out is this same item he bought for $2. If we sum up the $2 up for 20 items, we are looking at $40. But the story behind each of these items made him to sell every one of them cumulative for $600. Now, we equally have the power and influence of storytelling in diverse ways. For instance, we watch movies. We go to the cinema. And some of these movies are fiction. But when we watch them, we are moved by what we watch. Sometimes we cry, sometimes we laugh. And sometimes when we come out from a movie, sometimes we want to act and display like the Superman. These are just the effects of storytelling. Recently, a friend of mine called me, and he was like, his daughter, just 18 years old, now has a boyfriend. And he was so disturbed. I smiled because I know what might actually be playing in the mind of the daughter. And I told him, give the phone to your daughter. Her name is Anita. And I said, Anita, how are you? She said, I'm fine, uncle. And I said, Anita, you know at this age you ought not to have a boyfriend. She said, Uncle, but he loves me and I love him. And I asked her, why do you think he loves you? He said something, he said, he makes me feel good. He said he wakes up every morning to expect his text messages. And I laughed. He sent me a couple of the messages. And I looked at them. I went online. Shockingly. These are random messages he picked from the internet and sent to the daughter, to Anita. But what I was able to picture from this is, he is able to use words, can come in storytelling, to be able to influence our mind, just the way the author was able to influence the mind of people, changing them to pay more for what he bought for $2. In our own areas of life, like I talked about the movies, yes, it has great influence in our life. So in our activities, in what we do, even in our homes, we use storytelling to compare someone, to change their mindset. So as Toastmasters, there is great effect and power when we tell stories. Even when we come to the areas of government, people use it in campaign to wheel a lot of people to their own side. This is how powerful it is. And finally, we have this great aspiration that we want to be like a movie star. We want to look like someone we just watch. But above all, I was listening to a preacher some time ago, and he said something. Every one of us wants to put on the Nike shoe. Not necessarily because we want to run like Michael Jordan, but because of the story and the compelling attitudes of Michael Jordan, we think when we put on a Nike shoe, we can run like him or have that aura about him. In a nutshell, storytelling has great potentials to make great changes in our life, individually and collectively. Thank you so much.
Wonderful speech.